Today I'm going to be talking about, building a product team from 0 to 50, right? And so this is something which I've done before, and I'm hoping that I can share some ideas, thoughts, use cases, and hopefully some takeaways at the end, which you can sort of use in your worlds across the world. So I'm going to talk a little about first 90 days, some of the learnings that I've had, what's important about a vision and North Star. Then we're going to go into sort of the use cases specifically at Brankas around the iterations that we've had to go through over the past year. And so just for some context there, I've been working at this company now for just over a year, and we've already gone through 3 different iterations on our team. And that's been quite, that's been forced in some way. At the same time, it's also not necessarily, it's just movement with the company and hiring and growth and all that. I'll talk a little bit about future improvements that we have planned, so I'll be open to that. And also finally, some thoughts at the end on what you can do to sort of move ahead. So first and foremost, let's talk about first 90 days. And I'll talk in relation to what I actually did at this company as to how things needed to be set up. And just for some context, that Brankas didn't have really a product team. They had like one product manager and one designer who sort of floated around trying to figure things out. And we needed, it was a bit of a drive from investors as well as also the founders to find a CPO. And so they hired me. And really the first 90 days plan was sort of enacted upon, and in hindsight, it was frankly speaking, it probably took less than 90 days to get to where what we're about to talk to today. So, number 1, set a vision. Set a vision if the company doesn't have it. Set a North Star. Number 2, understand the current state of the organization, and that means getting yourself stuck into the product, right? And finally, set in sort of the initial priorities, not knowing precisely if they're going to be correct or not. It doesn't matter. Just get it done, right? Get it done. So what does that mean? First 90 days, let's talk about the vision and North Star, right? Number 1, your company needs to have a vision. And if it doesn't, then the founders and yourself as a head of product, right? Before you even start thinking about teams and all that jazz, right? Like, you need to set this, right? Be crystal clear as to what the vision of the company is, and make sure that between yourself and the founders, you're aligned. Now, some companies, they will already have it. My experience is that it's usually when you join a startup, it's not really crystal clear because people are still trying to work out product market fit and all those sorts of things, right? And they may not see it as being a very important thing. The reason why it's important is because with the vision itself, people are more easily aligned on what needs to be done next, especially if you're tying it to other things, which we'll talk a little bit more about in the North Star metrics and the team goals and OKRs and KPIs and all that sort of thing. But you need to be able to look towards something and get people sort of rallied around. Number 2, agree on a North Star metric of the company. What is a North Star metric? A North Star metric is a metric which you're trying to hit as an organization, which defines success, right? At Brankas, that is the volume of successful transactions per month. Agree on this if you can, at almost the same time that you come up with your vision. Otherwise, you're going to find the vision gets put in place, and then people will just leave the North Star to, which is actually the really important metric for the company, sort of just, oh, we'll get to it, and you eventually don't. And before you know it, you've got an entire company complaining about what are we trying to do, right? And that's something that you don't want to get yourself stuck into. Number 3, do not start thinking about team structure, as I was mentioning before, right? Don't think about team structure until these first 2 things are solidified. And I have a very strong stance on this, because when you're trying to figure out what is your vision, and when you're trying to figure out what is your North Star metric, what actually happens is that people start aligning thoughts subconsciously in a certain direction. You need that subconscious sort of thought process to be in place first, before you go off and start structuring all your teams and whatnot. And finally, I can't emphasize this enough. It's over communicating whatever your vision is, whatever your North Star is that you've come up with, and over communicating this to your company all the time, right? So for example, at Brankas, we have ESFs, which is called the End of Sprint Fridays. So we get together and as a company and sort of announce some of the cool things that we've been building. Or, there are town halls as well, where we're talking about like current status of the organization. We continuously communicate what is our vision, what is our North Star in these sessions, because we have new people joining, we have people which are not always paying attention all the time, right? It's getting people into the habits, into the behavior of what is effectively the thing that we're trying to do. That's what I would say is like, for the vision and North Star, your first 90 days, what do you need to go off and act upon?